Joshua and said to him, in the sight of all Israel. Now Moses spoke to him privately. Now in the presence of all the congregation, Moses is repeating the same word. Then Moses called Joshua and said to him in the sight of all Israel, be strong and of good courage, for you must, say I must.
I must.
For you must go with these people to the land which the Lord has sworn to their father to give them, and you shall cause them to inherit it. Then, let's stop right there for now. If you follow the fact that in verse 6 and 7, the word be strong and of good courage occurred twice. Yes. If you follow when Sister Carol was reading in 1 Joshua, you will realize that when God was repeating the same instruction to Joshua, in verse 6 and verse 7, wow, what a coincidence. What a coincidence. And do you know, in the Bible and the Hebrew language, there's nothing like coincidence. They don't have a word for coincidence. There's some language that cannot be translated because they don't have it in their vocabulary. There was a show I was listening to on radio. It was about this boy in Pakistan. His dad is in the village, so he came all the way from the village to the city to work in one of these where they dye all this jacket we wear in America here, the leather jacket. You know, that's from cow. They will dye to the color we want, either black, white, brown, or red. So the guy worked in that factory where they dye those the leather into the color we want. So he works 6 days a week, and the work is so difficult that he has to do. And all the money he makes, every dollar he makes, he sends it to the village to pay some debt his father owns. So on this particular radio show, NPR, they were interviewing people. They even went to Nigeria to interview one of the guys who acted as an actor. If you follow that series, that was where the guy called himself the Denzel Washington of Nigerian theater. So they go all over the world interviewing people. So they were interviewing this guy. So they asked him, I mean, all you do is work and make money and send it to pay a debt you do not own. Then they said, how do you feel about it? He said, aren't you bored with your life? And the guy who was interpreting for this guy couldn't find a word in Pakistan that can be translated to the word boring. He couldn't, because they have no word for bored in their language. It's like in the Japanese language. In the Japanese language, they have the same word. Problem and opportunity, they use the same word for it. So when a Japanese man tells you, I have a problem, it depends on the situation. He might be telling you, I have an opportunity. And when you really understand God, you see problem as an opportunity. Like my brother was saying, and we asked us to pray. What I was thinking is that your disappointment is God's appointment. Because God, they say that man extremities is God's opportunity. When you don't know what to do, that's when God comes in and show you what to do. Amen. That's why as a child of God, you are never without an option. That's why as a child of God, you are never without an escape route. That's why as a child of God, you are never a loser until you decide to quit. And that's why you come to church. So we teach you, don't quit. Don't quit. When your breakthrough is closest to you, that's when the enemy fights you the hardest. This my daughter called me yesterday and we were talking. And she was telling me what she's believing God for and what she was trying to do. And she did something that was so good for somebody. She was driving and she saw somebody and the Spirit of the Lord just said, turn around and give that person a ride. And she turned around, she's not even sure who that person was, especially except that they're an elderly person. She turned around and pulled over and told the lady, where are you going? And then she recognized that I knew this lady from somewhere. And she gave the lady a ride. And after doing all that, something happened. She couldn't find her car key. Within the tingle of an eye, she lost her car key. She has to tow her car all the way home. And to get a new car key is going to be $200. money she can't afford to spend. And she was just wondering, the pastor, how come the minute after I just obeyed the Lord, this happened? And it happened, and she just couldn't, it's just that the key just evaporate. And I told her, I said, you know what? Nobody steals from anybody who doesn't have something. I said, there are ladies, we call them bag ladies. They push carts full of aluminum soda can. They push them down, and the most dangerous neighborhood in the city, they can walk. Nobody is trying to rob them because they ain't got nothing that anybody can take from them. I said, whenever the enemy is fighting you that hard, it's simply because your breakthrough is at hand. And what the enemy wants you to do is to give up. And God cannot do anything in your life when you give up on God. And whenever because I tell you, I've been in the labor room 3 times. Any woman who has gone through childbirth will tell you, the pain is most intense when the baby is about to come. That's when you need people there to guide the lady. Because that's when they want to give up. Because they've been pushing and pushing and the baby is not coming. But it is when, after you've been pushing for maybe an hour, the baby's air is dried out. Now the baby has no more supply of oxygen in the inside because it has been disentangled and it's about to come out. If there's nobody there to guide the lady, the baby must suffocate. Because that's when your strength is weak. So you need people to tell you, no, push. And then you push the baby through. Remember I told you that whenever the enemy come against me, I always remind him of that. Because there was a time, it seemed as if everything around me was collapsing. It's like there was no way I'm going to just lose everything everything in my life. My family, everything. And the Lord said, call your mom. Ask her what happened when she was carrying you or when she wants to give back to you. That something happened in your past. Go ask your mom. So I called my mom. I said, Mommy, was there any unique thing that happened during your pregnancy? I was expecting her to say, yeah, the enemy is always chasing me. Or I almost have an abortion or something. No, she said, nothing. She said, nothing happened. I said, are you sure? She said, nothing. I said, but God told me to call you and find out what happened during the childbirth or during the pregnancy. She said, oh, the only thing I remember is that during delivery, as I was in they call it the maternity ward then. As I was in the hospital about to deliver you, the midwife said I was screaming too loud. And she abandoned me. And I was alone with you. And it was just, she had one of her sisters, I think she was maybe 6 or 7 there. She was the only one there who assisted me in pushing you through. And later on I realized you could have died I could have died with you or lose you during labor. Because the one who was there to tell me to push was not there. So whenever the enemy come against me, I will tell you, you couldn't kill me back then, you ain't gonna kill me now. I made the love of God when I didn't even know God. Now I know God. Since you couldn't kill me back then, the other day my wife saw a scar on my hand. He said, how did you get that? I told her I was in a luxurious box. We were traveling, going on a trip. And that the trip, and the bus, the long bus flipped over. Everybody escaped but me. I was trapped under that bus. People thought I was going to die. My leg was trapped under the bus. They have to strip me to my undergarment to get me out of that bus. But the only injury I had was the laceration in my hand. I didn't know God then. He couldn't kill me back then. Now that I know God, it doesn't matter what I faces now. I remind him, you failed.